Hello, once again, and welcome to this episode of Through the Realm of Light and Shadow. We are very excited to have you with us and join us for this goofy band of people as we journey through Tolkien's Middle-earth. When we last left off, all of you awoke from your first long rest in quite a while. However, you awoke one party member short. As you noticed that Eldakar was missing. He had left a small pack where he had bed down for the night, and you picked up a note that was left there, and you read a very succinct message that someone had been pursuing Eldakar, and that to protect all of you, he decided to leave as his pursuer was getting a little bit close. He wanted to venture a little bit further into the Mirkwood, lose his pursuer, but pledged he would do his best to rejoin you around the time that you arrived at the ruins. Hopefully we'll see you again soon, as he wanted to keep all of you safe. So you ventured out of this protected area that Edrahel had located for you. You ventured deeper into the Mirkwood. As you crossed the boundary where the western Mirkwood turns into the mountains of Mirkwood, you immediately went south. And as you went south into the heart of the Mirkwood, everything was dark. Completely dark. Midnight dark. No skies were seen through the canopy of the trees. There are no stars. There's no light except for that which comes from your torches. And then you heard a hissing sound. And you decided to investigate the hissing sound. Before you could spot the hissing, however, you spotted a stone watchtower, about 30 to 45 feet tall. As you got closer to the tower, you noticed some webbing, almost like spider webbing. And eventually, you decided to go into the tower. Edrahel and Haley ventured deep within the tower on their own. Wise or not, they decided to take a chance. As you climbed in the tower, you saw more and more webbing. Every time you took a step, your feet were stuck to the floor. But as you got to the highest floor in the tower, the third floor, the webbing was a little bit more sparse. It wasn't as bad. But then you got to the top of the tower, and as you looked over the edge, you saw a spider. Not just any spider, but a really, really big spider. Edrahel, you recognize this spider. This made you a little uncomfortable. And you were basically going back and forth on, do we tell the group what we've seen? Do we not tell the group? You found a couple of dwarves that had been killed, and there were two of them on the top of the tower, and you went back and forth on whether or not you were even going to mention that to Nebuchadnezzar, worried that he would fly into a furious rage and engage the spider in a fight you couldn't win. And as you started to make your way back down the tower, unfortunately, some noise happened. Some sounds were made, and Cyrell and Edrahel, you both noticed that you could no longer hear the rhythmic hissing of the inhales and the exhales of the spider. So, debating back and forth whether you were going to run away and retreat back to where Wilhelm was holding the two horses, or if you were going to stay within the tower and attempt to defend yourselves from this spider should it desire to attack. Time was running out. You eventually gathered inside the tower, and a group of smaller spiders began pouring in through the ground entrance. You managed to kill a few of those spiders, but then even more spiders started to rush in. And around this time, you started hearing clashing of metal and shouts of what sounded like they could be dwarves in the distance. And as round after round of combat started to wear you down as more spiders poured into the tower, those sounds got closer and closer until suddenly a small contingent of dwarves came rushing into the tower, aiding you in your fight against these smaller spiders. And then you continued to hear fighting from outside. Edrahel, you could hear that there was an attack going on with the larger spider, the spider that you had been attempting to avoid this entire time. And as you guys finished up the spiders inside of the tower, you left the tower, and you saw that that big spider was indeed being flanked by a contingent of dwarves. Cyrell, you rushed towards them, and as you did, you actually crossed paths with Will, who was sword drawn rushing towards the spider as well. Thinking that you may have been killed in combat or were in somehow danger to the spider in the fighting that he was hearing, he wanted to come to your aid. And as the two of you and the rest of you slowly started to approach this spider, the dwarves were able to finish it off and kill it. And you had a rather nice interaction with the dwarves afterwards. You recognized the names of one of them who remembers the dwarf that you spoke with the most. What was his name? Haley? Derek? Aw, yay, it's like class. Everyone's raising their hand. They want to be like, pick me.
None of our audio listeners can see us raise our hands.
What was that?
Beaufrey?
Beaufrey, son of Beaufort. And so he explained that Beaufort's tower is the tower that you guys were just holding up in, and that him and his compatriots had come to take back this tower from this hunter spider that had called it its home for such a long time. And so you assisted Beaufrey in killing the spiders. He was eternally grateful. You did find a beautiful staff inside the tower that you decided to let Beaufrey know that you had found. He was very grateful because it was his father's staff. And he was going to use that to mend the old forest road that goes through the Mirkwood from west to east. And that was going to be a rather long journey that's going to take him a few years. And he invited you, when you were done, to come and join him on that quest. In the meantime, however, he did say that aside from the staff, if you would like to search the tower and take something due to the part that you played in rescuing his father's tower from the spider, he was willing to part with any more mundane items aside from the staff. And that is where we left off. And so the five of you are free to search the tower. What would you like to do?
Well, following the example that Mr. Chad gave us before, I would like to harvest the spiders for their venom.
Harvest them.
Give me a survival or medicine check.
Okay, I'm gonna go with survival.
I had a feeling.
You had a feel?
I had a feeling you would probably pick survival, you know.
Probably, right?
Probably.
All right, 12.
Wow.
12.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, wait, do we have advantage?
Why would you have advantage?
Is the journey over?
No.
So.
Okay, well, this is what I would pose to you, Mr. John. Because we already have experience harvesting these like spiders, I would say we maybe know a little more than we knew last time. So take that information as you will.
Yeah, no, that's great. Not enough to grant you advantage. Maybe enough to lower the DC from last time. But
Okay, all right. Well, if it's over to 12, then I'm a happy camper.
Edgerhell, were you trying to get what were you trying to harvest from the spiders? How about
The
that?
venom sacs.
The venom sacs. Okay. So there were
6 spiders.
6 spiders, including the giant one. The giant one is already being harvested by the dwarves. So the other 6, go ahead and give me one more survival check.
21.
21. All right. So of the 6, you successfully harvest 4.
All right.
Who else is doing what?
While I see Edrahel do that, then Nebuchadnezzar, he kind of takes a moment to kind of clean himself off a little bit, maybe shake off some of the bug guts from his warhammer, stick it on his back, and he's going into the tower because I think he saw a glimpse of that mithril armor or something like that in there. So he's going to see if it's fitted for a dwarf. I mean, it's going to be on a dwarf's corpse, so maybe they'll be around the same size. So
I think I still have that mithril armor because I was going to give it to. I was giving it to Haley.
Okay. But was there more than one dead dwarf, John?
There were 2 at the top of the tower.
Did they both have that? Because I'm going to hike up there.
Okay.
A little stocky body. Get up there, look around. Oh, I'm gonna kind of mourn my fellow dwarven kin for a memento, and then I'm gonna loot their corpses with very little respect.
Make an investigation check for both of them. So make 2.
Okay, the first one I got a 15, and the next one I got a 5.
Neither of them are wearing any
Clothes? Oh, okay.
There was one mithril vest that someone already actually picked up.
Okay.
I believe, right? Was that Edgerhell? Are you holding on to it?
I am still holding on to it, yes.
Okay. So there is the one mithril vest that Edgerhell has. As far as those 2 dwarves, not wearing any other mithril armor, their weapons are pretty mundane. Nothing special. They just seem to be a couple of dwarves who were standing guard in this area.
Do they have any hand axes? Blech. Like a hand axe or 2?
One of them does have a hand axe on his hilt.
Okay.
Not in battle.
I'm gonna take that. So now I have three of those guys.
Okay.
To be thrown
I
around.
have 3 hand axes.
Yeah. So, and I guess that's about it for me. So.
Cyrell was extremely impressed with the dwarves and very thankful that they came in last minute to help him out. So first he calls over to Will. He asks where the horse is, wanting to make sure that they are okay and bring them forth. If they come forth, he would make sure he goes up to them, pat Onyx, make sure he's doing okay, and place the lance that Brofree had said Cyrell could keep kind of on the saddle of Onyx so that they'd keep it. And then after that, Cyrell wanted to do 2 things. Eventually, he would want to search the tower with Brofree's permission, but he would also want to go over to Vador and Kona, I think was their names, the 2 dwarfs that were signed, and just kind of chat them up, size them up. And because he was so impressed with their fighting abilities, he would call Will over and see if both him and Will could maybe learn some fighting moves from them. If they're willing to show him some things. Because the party wasn't always the best at demonstrating moves in the past.
Fine.
All right. Which 2 dwarves do you go to? I heard Kona. What was the other one?
Badar, her brother, I believe.
Badar.
Yes, pronounce his name right.
Okay, cool. Look at you guys taking notes. I'm so proud of you. So you go up to Vidar and Kona. Go ahead and make a general persuasion check at first.
Okay.
For me.
Here we go.
No
A
pressure.
5.
Nice. I like it.
Cyrell might be a little
persuasive.
too blunt. Vidar, you fight good.
You good fight.
So you go up to Vidar and Kona, and you start to strike up conversation with Vidar, and he puts his hand up and he goes, "You dare approach us without honoring Dwarven traditions? Do you wish to fight?" And he draws his sword. And right around the time you're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," Kona starts laughing and slaps him backhanded on the chest. And it's like, he's just screwing with you. And then Vidar starts laughing. And he puts his sword back on his belt. And he's like, "Oh, you fight pretty well yourself. What can we do for you?"
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for the save there. I appreciate your fighting style. I see it's unusual. My ward here is Will. We come from the lands of Rohan,
and he's sizing up.
I'm always interested in just training Will and myself as well as from some new fighting styles. We like to learn from others. Is there anything you can maybe show us from your skills that we might be able to pick up for the battle yet to come?
I see. Will, is it? How much combat experience do you have?
Do you want me to play for Will as well?
Sure. Yeah, sure. More interesting to me talking to myself.
I would pay to see that. Cyrell here, he's trained me a little bit at home, and then we were kidnapped, and there's like lots of battles, and there's arrows and swords, and I got them, but I don't know how good I am at using them. So not a lot, I guess.
All right. Hit me. He tells Will to hit him.
All right. So Will looks at Cyrell first to see if it's okay. Okay. Cyrell nods his head and he draws back all his strength and tries to punch the dwarf in the face.
All right. Just roll a d20 and
All
Please be in that one.
he punches himself in the face.
It was close. It was close. Do I add a strength modifier or anything for him? Okay. He got a 4.
4. Okay. Will he cocks back and he does like a little like cartoon thing with his fist, kind of swivels it in a circle, brings it forward, and just whiffs right in front of the dwarf. It kind of jostles his beard, the air does. And he goes, that was a mighty swing, but I would recommend working on your aim there, young one. Not bad. What about you? What about you, Cyrell? Why don't you try and hit me?
Cyrell kind of stretches a little bit, cracks his knuckles, not wanting to look like a punk in front of his young ward. He says, "If you insist," and he draws back to punch him.
All right. Same thing.
Okay. Proficiency? Does he add strength? Proficiency? What's he at?
Yep.
All that? Okay.
Yep.
2.
All right, cool. Any help I can get? So he got a 12.
12. This time, you go for just like a punch, like right to the chest area. You don't miss, but you don't deal any damage either as you hit under the AC. But as you punch, you actually feel the armor that he's wearing. Right now, he's got kind of a tabard on, and he's not wearing heavy metal armor on top of that. But as you punch, instead of being met with rather strong dwarf body, you're met with something much stronger that you weren't expecting. And as you recoil back, you've got you know how like when you rest your arm on like braid for a while, you get those indentations from the pattern or whatever. Same thing, except you have all these little ringlets all over your knuckles and your fingers from where you punched him, and he's wearing some sort of chainmail underneath that tabard. And it hurts a little bit, but you know, you're strong and you kind of take it. And Vidar lets out a bit of a laugh and he's like, "Now, Will, that's how you punch. That was a good punch there. I kind of tickled."
Thank you, Vidar, for saving my honor.
If you would like to actually learn some of our tactics, I would recommend 2 things. One, since we're coming with you to these ruins, I would recommend paying attention when we fight. And 2, should we camp later tonight, perhaps we will spar.
Sounds good.
I hear it from the other side, like, "Woo! Yeah, sparring!"
He's very excitable for an elf. I like that one.
Last time he sparred, he almost died.
That was a good fight then, wasn't it?
It's all or nothing!
I also noticed that some of your dwarfkin are very adept at shields. I use a shield in battle. If you guys might have any techniques you can show for me with that, that would be very helpful.
Kona pipes up. She's got a shield on her back right now. I have a shield. Yeah, I'd be happy to give you some pointers tonight.
Sounds good. My character, when he levels up, gets shield bash, so assuming maybe they can train me in some of that. So that would be all Cyrell does, except for investigating the tower, but we do that if someone else wants to go next.
Anyone else want to do anything? All right, Cyrell, make an investigation check for the tower. Oh, did you have something, Joe?
I wanted to see if there were like some arrows around that I could pick up that were still working, maybe.
Yeah, sure. Make an investigation check to recover some arrows. Cyrell, go ahead and make that investigation roll for me.
8.
Okay. You take the next few minutes and you wander around the tower. You do recover 3 of your own arrows, but you also notice arrows from previous battles, either in siege or defense of the tower. One of them is glinting sort of in an oddly bright fashion that you weren't expecting. You're not quite sure what that arrow shaft is made from, but you could make a survival check to possibly determine its origins.
Yes.
Well, of course, if I give you the option, who's going to say no? No, I would like to live in mystery.
13.
13. You don't recognize the material. It is not Elvish or Dwarvish make.
I
But
still take it.
you have a shiny arrow. Let me know if and when you use that in combat. Cyrell, what'd you get on your investigation?
I got a 19.
19, okay. So you make your way back up into the tower. You go to the second floor where the smashed-in chest was. Not chest, display case that had various bits and baubles. And there were also some wooden hooks in there that have since been cleaned out and were emptied out. You investigate around the case. You kind of look around the floor, see if maybe something fell out that might be of good use to you. You look along the back end. We lost one. You look along the back end where the display case meets the wall, and there's a bit of a seam there. Give me just a straight strength check.
Natural one, of course.
You give it a bit of a push, and you can't quite move the display case, but you feel like there's something there where the display case meets the wall. Give me an investigation check as you look to see if maybe there's a lock or some kind of a release or something that you can do.
Okay. 9.
9. It takes you a minute as you look around the edges of the display case. There's definitely a seam on one side. You think you can spot a camouflaged hinge. It's really hard to tell. The dwarven craft here is the attention to detail is very fine. However, you do eventually decide that there must be some sort of release mechanism. You walk around that floor, kind of pushing and prodding along the wall, looking for some sort of hidden mechanism. Eventually, there's a sconce with a torch that's not lit that's in the wall. And that one actually throws you off a little bit because there's been a pattern, sort of a regular placement of sconces every 5 to 7 feet or so. And this one is a little too close to the others. And so it kind of draws your attention. You look at it for a moment and you give it a bit of a tug, and sure enough, like a bit of a lever, it pulls down. You hear a cranking sound and a slow grinding of stone on stone. The display case you look back over slowly starts to shift, and as it does, the webs along the wall and the display case kind of tear apart as they adhere to both the wall and the display case. You see dust kind of kicking off at the top, and it's moving really slow and really loud. Probably this hasn't been adjusted in years at this point, as it's sort of breaking loose from the wall that it's attached to. And eventually it slides a total of about 2 feet to the side. You go back over to the display case, and laying inside of a compartment in there, you see a longsword, which is a two-handed weapon, propped up against the wall. And you also see a small chest about the size of my head.
Cyrell looks around. He takes a closer look at it. He goes for the chest and see if he can pick it up.
It is stuck to the ground when you go to pull on it. It's either extremely heavy or is in some way adhered to the ground.
Okay. Cyrell sighs. Here we go again. If Will is present, I'll tell Will to step back a little bit. Flashbacks of scrolls and things going through his head goes filters through his mind, and he's like, "Why did I do this to myself?" Then he leans down to open up the chest.
Okay. You flip the latch open. There is no lock. and you lift the chest. As you lift the chest, you hear a tick, tick, tick. And you kind of wince, and it opens up all the way. The ticking sound was just the creaking of the hinges on the chest. It did not appear to be locked or trapped in any way. Constitution save now. Inside the chest, however, you do see a small collection of gems.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's
All right.
3 rubies, a sapphire, and a small diamond. The sapphire is a beautiful rectangular cut blue, and it's gorgeous. You just briefly looking at them, you don't notice any impurities. A jeweler with a glass might be able to see some, but they look to be very fine gems.
All right. I collect them, kind of hold them, put them in
As
the
you
pouch.
do, you grab them and you hold them, and you feel a tingling sensation with them in your hand. Put them in the pouch. As soon as you're not touching them anymore, that sensation goes away. Put the pouch on your side.
Cyril sighs. This is magic again. All right, and then I look at the sword and I go to try to take it.
Okay. You put your hand where on the sword?
On the hilt.
I grabbed the blade.
I always grab the blade. I always go
The
for the
power
blade
should be
first.
mine.
The sword is in a sheath. It's
Okay.
not just propped up on the point of the sword, but it's in a sheath and laid up against the wall. You grab the handle of the blade. You inspect it. It's a very simple sword, just as far as the hilt is concerned. It's got black leather wrapped around the hilt. The hand guard itself is just a very straight line and then comes up with a couple of prongs. Nothing overly fancy. The bottom of the hilt is kind of bulbous slightly, just to kind of catch your hand from slipping off of it. And as you inspect there it is hollow, like it fits something within it, but there's nothing in it currently. And the blade itself is sheathed.
Interesting. All right, well, I'll take the whole sheath and the blade. I'll look around the area, see if there's anything else in that.
Make an investigation check.
Okay. Natural 20. Woo, 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 woo.
What in particular are you looking for?
In that space, just to see if anything pops out. In general, I'm looking for more armor for myself, but
Okay.
just trying to do a fine-tooth comb, make sure I don't leave anything.
Yeah. Nothing else around the area of the display case. You climb up to the second floor of the tower. You look around some of the bookshelves. Some of them molded out, covered in moisture, and there's a section where part of the stone has broken away. Inspecting this area of the tower, nothing else stands out to you. You're very detailed in your investigation, but you don't find anything additional that you think would be of use to you.
Cool. All right. Last thing I'll do is I will head off to go find Brofer. Bofuri. How do you say?
Bofri. Bofri.
Okay.
Bofri, son of Bofer.
Okay. Bofri, to report what I found, including the pouch of stuff, the sword, and to also tell him that I examined the place pretty thoroughly and didn't find anything else, but wanted to tell him about the secret chamber and stuff. So
Sure.
that was what Cyril will be doing.
Okay, so you tell him about the sword and the gems and the chamber behind the display case. He gives you a bit of a nod, and he looks at the sword and he goes, "It's a special sword you have there. It's a good one. Should serve you well. The gems I'm not familiar with. My father spoke of a weapon, but I've never actually been inside the tower myself, so thank you for letting me know, but as I said before, my word stands. Aside from the staff, you and your compatriots are welcome to whatever you find."
That is mighty kind of you. I appreciate that. Do
I
you
have
know
what I
more?
came for.
Do you know more about this sword?
It didn't belong to my father. He spoke of it. It was a friend of his had if this is the sword, again, it appears to be. Have you unsheathed it?
I touched the hilt and felt something strange within it. I also felt something strange when I originally picked up some of the gems.
I see. A friend of my father, an elf, which I'm sure you're aware, not many dwarves and elves make friends these days. Nonetheless, he wielded a sword that sounded much like this. It does appear to be of elven make, but he didn't speak of the properties of the sword. He just said that the one who wielded it was ferocious in battle and a worthy ally, and an honor to stand next to in combat. So may the sword serve you well, Cyril.
Thank you, kind sir. I do a little bow. Awkwardly, I don't know dwarfs traditions, and then walk away.
He does a bit of a bow, and then he slaps you on the shoulder like, hey!
Hey!
You walk away.
All right. Yep.
Anyone else doing anything here?
Let's look at the resting place of Toller.
Okay.
Because we haven't actually gone to the other side of the tower, so just to investigate around.
All right.
Just to see
So
if there were any eggs just to step on, you know?
sure. Go ahead and make an investigation check for me.
Sure thing.
For anyone who missed the last episode, Taller is the name of the giant spider that they fought. The Watcher.
Toller the Hunter. 21. 21.
Nice.
21. Nice. All right. You look around. You don't notice any piles of eggs of any kind. Taller did not appear to have any kin that they were looking after, potentially, at least not any unborn kin. Like I said, the dwarves pretty much harvested Taller of everything of value. You do start to map out the area of webbing that emanates from the tower, and you see that for about 200 to 300 yards in any direction, the forest floor is coated in spider webbing, and it gets sparser the further out you go, but it appears that if not the main base of operations, if you will, this was at least a place that Taller frequented and spent a lot of time in. Like a home, whether it is the primary home or not, it was a home of Taller.
All right.
So while all that's going on, I'm going to catch up with Haley and with Dala. I'm just going to say, I don't think there's much more here for us to find. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to set out. I'm feeling good, feeling strong, and I'm ready to go. How about you, Lot?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here, twiddling my thumbs, staring at the sky. I'm not too interested in whatever's in that tower, so I'm just letting the boys do whatever they want, and then I'll be ready to go.
Okay. How about for you, Dala?
I'm with you on that.
So
I
I want
time to take a nap.
Oh, I got no time for napping.
Says you.
Nebuchadnezzar's just at a loss for words. He goes, so he starts to check his pack, he makes sure everything's cleaned up, but he's kind of through with this place. I mean, he thinks that the other dwarves are going to take care of it anyway, so he doesn't have any reason to stay. So he's ready to, he looks around, doesn't, trying to look in the direction where they should go. And even though he may not be saying much to the other party members, if they look at his face, they can tell that he's ready to leave. He's anxious to leave.
I'm tying flowers, like wildflowers together, like braiding them together, because I'm just bored, sitting in the grass, making like a little flower crown.
Okay.
Nebuchadnezzar looks at the crown, but he doesn't say anything, but he's very intrigued by it. You just see him scratch his head a little bit,
All right. So you guys finish up investigating around the tower. and you decide to set back out towards the ruins. It is still early in the day, and you've got a bit of a trek ahead of you. So, with that being said, everyone make a wisdom saving throw.